Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today I want to talk about something that I said in a video yesterday that seems to have upset several people. Not just several, like dozens of people. And it was when I said that politicians should be afraid of those armed protesters, people who carry like long guns, etc., to rallies and protests. They should be afraid of us because the whole thing of some of these new bills that are being passed about carrying openly at rallies and stuff, it's so that they're not intimidating the politicians because their feelings are hurt when people show up and they're afraid and don't want them to be afraid. And I said they should be afraid. Well, people on both sides of the argument kind of got mad at me. On one side, people are like, oh, you're implying just because someone's carrying a long gun that they're more dangerous and blah, blah, blah. Well, you do have more capability, so therefore you are technically more dangerous. But I was in no way implying that people who show up with firearms open carried are somehow looking for trouble. Didn't imply that at all. So if you got that from it, that's more on you than me. I didn't say anything like that. I said it was the feelings of the politicians where they were feeling threatened, and this legislation and these bills that are being passed are to assuage their fears, whether their fears are justified or not. And I said it shouldn't be done. So I never said just because someone open carries, they're more dangerous. I just said that was the perception by the politicians. If you want to take politicians' perception as reality, well, then that's on you, not me. But that's in no way what I meant. The other side of the argument people got mad at me over was they thought I was saying that, oh, we should be a physical threat to politicians, that we should take things into our own hand, and that these politicians should be afraid, and that that's a horrible thing to say because that makes us look like an angry, threatening mob, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And to those people, I want to say, well, you got my point perfectly, because that's what I did mean. I mean politicians should be afraid of us. They should be afraid of an armed populace. They should be afraid of the people they supposedly serve. They should feel like if I do something wrong, these people might come for me. If I act against the Constitution, these people might hold me accountable. They should be afraid of us. That's what the Second Amendment is about, that the people in power have that little bit of fear in the back of their head saying, hey, I want to do what's right because it's right, but also because they might fucking string me up if I don't. That's what is missing from politics these days. These days, if someone does something egregious in politics, they don't get punished to the full extent of the law. At very worst, they resign their position and go work as a consultant for some big industry that they did favors for while they were in office, and they live on millions of dollars of years of a golden parachute just for the favors they did while they were in power. That's not exactly what I would consider punishment. It's not incentive to do the right thing. It's more incentive to get in, serve a couple of terms, and make a lot of money and get out and live the high life. Unless you're one of the people like the long-termers that are addicted to the power aspect of it. Those people want to keep their power. And they don't have anything to worry about either because, you know, their districts are so gerrymandered. The politics is a joke nowadays. The two-party system kind of ensures they stay in power no matter how bad they are. So they're not worried about being voted out. So what do they have to worry about? It isn't being punished by their fellow politicians or the system, because every time one of them does something really bad, if it's so egregious that they can't ignore it, they basically, the other side screams and yells and script talks about accountability and blah, blah, blah. At the very worst, like if it's, like I say, if it's so egregious, if it's a capital crime that's so egregious, they'll get a small sentence, usually a quarter of what we would get as citizens. But usually it'll be ignored. Unless I said, unless they kill someone, rape someone, etc., it'll usually be ignored. Even if it's major insider trading, etc., they'll get a slap on the wrist. And this is because the politicians that scream and yell that they're such horrible people and they didn't serve the Constitution and blah, blah, blah. We're going to throw the book at them. And then their lawyers and their aides whisper in their ear, the thing we're talking about throwing the book at him for is the same thing you did last year. Or, it's the same kind of deal you've got working right now with this company. So if we put him in jail for this, chances are this time next year, you'll be in jail for it. So then they go, but I think he's learned his lesson. We'll take his committee assignments away from him. That's what they face from their peers. They don't want to establish accountability because it would apply to them as well. So they have to be afraid of us. If they're not afraid of us as a people, then what reason do they have to do their jobs? They can serve 2 terms, 1 term even, and make enough favors in the big industries to live the rest of their life, cush. They can stay in power if they want to, as long as they don't murder or rape somebody, and do whatever they want with very little accountability. So what reason do they have to serve the Constitution? Because it's the right thing to do? I think the kind of people who do stuff because it's the right thing to do don't usually run for political office. So that fear has to be maintained. If you think that we have to live in a society where the politicians have to feel like we're all warm and cozy and no one would ever do anything to them, well, then you don't live in the real world. And you don't understand what the Founding Fathers were talking about when they expressed the need for the Second Amendment and a need to hold our governments accountable. Because they know governments that are not accountable soon become governments that do not serve the people. They only serve their own interests and the interests of the 1% that pay their salaries. And I'm not talking their political salaries. I'm talking the real money they make. The money that goes into their campaign funds, their super PACs, etc. Those are the people they serve. So for those of you who thought I was saying people with firearms are more dangerous, I never said that. You can watch my videos throughout my history, you'll see what I mean about that. And for those that said, oh, you're a monster because you're saying politicians should have to be fearful of citizens, then you're missing the point, but not the point about what I said, because that's exactly what I said. You're just missing the point for why we have a Second Amendment and why it is so important. All right, everybody, now that I've rambled on about that for a while, and sometimes very loudly and quickly at some points, mostly to hide the fact that the FedEx truck was delivering my ammo. And I was getting a little heated at some points, but, you know, I don't want to act like I'm faking the drama here. But sometimes I get louder just to cover up external sounds. But I want to move on here today, and I want to answer a question from a viewer. This viewer sent me an email saying, you know, it's real easy to focus on losses, like the new legislation in Washington State against open carry at rallies in the Capitol. It's real easy to focus on those and blow them up to something bigger than they are. So what they want to know is, what's a positive we should focus on? What's our biggest victory that we've had recently in the gun rights community? And I wanted to answer this question for them because I think it's a pretty easy question to answer. Might not sound like it, but I think it is very easy to answer. You know, we had the Heller decision. That was a huge victory. That established that the Second Amendment is an individual right. It's an individual right, not a collective right, as it should have been established long ago. And for those people who say, well, it was always upheld that it was a collective right. No, that's never true. That was not true. That is not the reality. It was just never addressed, really. But Heller determined that and set in stone that it is an individual right as it was intended to be from the day it was written, as are all the rights in the Bill of Rights. So that was a huge victory, but that's been a while now. So what's our most recent huge victories? Well, we've got some coming here, I think, that's going to be coming from the Supreme Court in December. We'll wait for those. But even with that aside, one of the things I think a lot of people should focus on right now that is amazing to someone who is from my generation, and that is that we now have, with Texas starting to become the 21st state to institute constitutional carry or permitless carry, they are about to pass it. Looks like it's going to happen. The police unions tried to stop it. The police organizations tried to water it down and stop it, but it looks like it's going to pass. And that makes them the 21st state to have permitless or constitutional carry. That's 21 states out of 50. That's almost half. We're approaching the halfway mark of people having a right to carry a gun outside their home without government interference because it is a constitutionally guaranteed right. Almost half our states are recognizing that. Now, some of the big states are not doing that yet, but hopefully they will. But that's a huge step. For someone like me who remembers when concealed carry wasn't even allowed in most states, the fact that it's allowed in almost every state now, at least to one degree or another, in fact, it is allowed in every state to one degree or another, and that it is almost half the states now that recognize it as just a constitutional right that requires no further government involvement, that's an amazing victory, and I think we should be celebrating that like crazy. And this has all been grassroots stuff. This is local politics. It's happening at a local level. We don't need big national organizations. We're winning our fights two ways, in the courts and at the grassroots level. That's why I keep saying we don't need these big national gun organizations like the NRA that just suck away funds and live the high life and get nothing done except for leveraging our rights for profit. We can do things on the grassroots level. All politics are local, and we do things in the courts, like with the Supreme Court victories I think we're going to have pretty soon, and we've had in the past. So if you want to focus on the good, that's something to focus on. That's an amazing thing to focus on right now. Some people want to focus on the bad. I can't do anything about those people. Usually those are people that really just want to get you all hyped up so that you'll spend money. or watch their videos, etc. But if you really want to be happy about where we're at right now in the Second Amendment fight in this country, looking at the fact that we've got so many states that are now constitutional or permitless carry is a great place to put your focus. Hey, I want to end the show today with a little presentation here. I want to remind people of TYM Triple P. Now, you might not know what that stands for, but it is the Yankee Marshall Pistol Project. No, it's the Yankee Marshall Posse Pistol Project. I left out a P. That was short 1P. Short P is not a problem I suffer from, no matter what anyone tells you out there. But that is what I want to talk about today, the TYM Triple P. If you're not familiar with TYM Triple P, it's a little organization that has a bunch of people that support it. They get together. Once a month, they go through a list of people that have sent in their names and their stories of why they would love to exercise their Second Amendment rights, but because of financial reasons, they just can't. And we provide them some aid to where they can exercise their Second Amendment rights. All you got to do is go over to tympistolproject.com, tympistolproject.com. There'll be a link in the upper corner of this video. There's a little place to enter your name. It has to be you. You can't enter somebody else. You have to go in, tell your own story in your own words, and enter. And then every month we choose 4 people, one for every week, that is awarded the means to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Now, this is all done legally through an FFL, etc. You have to go there, pick it up, blah, 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 fill out the paperwork, do the background checks. Everything is totally above board. It's just a little bit of an aid for people who financially can't afford to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Now, I can't go into super details about stuff because the internet doesn't like that, but go over to tympistolproject.com and go down to the part where you sign up. Let us know why you think you qualify to be a part of this program, to be a recipient or a beneficiary of the tympistolproject.com or TYMP Pistol Project, Posse Pistol Project. I don't know why I keep leaving the posse out. You think I'd have some people are going to start thinking I have an aversion to posse or something. But that aside, getting off topic here, go over to my website. Like I said, link in the upper corner. Check it out. If you are someone who is in need, you would like to exercise your Second Amendment rights, but financially things just aren't lining up for you, go on over and check out the project. We've been having trouble getting people to sign up for it lately, because it gets no lip service from other gun channels. They would rather die than help a charity that is actually doing something for people, because then people start saying, well, why aren't you doing this? If his little channel can do this for 4 people every month, why can't you do it for people? You should be able to do it for 20 people a month. He's got a paltry little 350,000 subs. You got 5 million subs. Why aren't you doing it for 10 times as many people? Because you're making millions of dollars, but they don't want to face that kind of scrutiny, so they just don't mention it. Plus, a lot of them don't like me, period. But you don't have to like me to be involved in this project. You can be someone who cusses me up and down in the comments section. I don't care. You're still just as eligible if you're a law-abiding American citizen who wants to exercise their Second Amendment rights but just can't due to financial reasons. Go over, check out the project, and possibly sign up to be a beneficiary. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, I just want to sign off as usual by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. But in the future, if we keep our heads about us and we ignore the profiteers and the fearmongers, the people that want to manipulate us and make us do stupid stuff and make us spend our money, if we ignore those people, what things will be in the very near future for those of us that believe in the Second Amendment and are very committed to the freedoms of the citizens of this country, what things will be in the very near future is better.